Hey everybody, it's Sunday, and there's usually not a whole lot of news going on the weekends, so I decided I want to do something a little different this Sunday and see how this goes. And I put out a open call for questions, like, hey, there's not really a lot of news going on, guys. If you have any questions you want to ask, I'll go ahead and do a Q&A video. And I got a few questions here. I don't know if I'm going to get to them all. Wasn't expecting to have so many questions, but if this does well, then I'll probably do another one next Sunday, just because the weekend's really slow with news. So, without further ado, let's jump into the first question, which comes from Sir Kent, and he writes, why? Oh, why did you do that to your face? I said this a couple times already. I'm kind of on record, but you kind of see there's some stubble growing back in. It's coming back in. But, it was just kind of patchy, and the colors were all messed up, and I figured, why not just shave it completely clean and regrow it out even, regrow it out thicker? So that was sort of my thought process on it, but I'll be honest with you. As soon as I did the first snip, I was like, well, fuck, I should never have done this. But anyway, so that's why I did that, Sir Kent. 301 writes, do you think Birds of Prey will be another DC disaster? Well, let's be honest with ourselves, guys. Have the DC movies really been a disaster? I mean, let's be honest. We can both like or dislike the movies. I give those movies shit all the damn time. But none of the movies besides one has ever been a disaster. Some people like BVS, other people don't like BVS. But it made a lot of money. It's not really a disaster. The only DC film, if I'm being 100% real with you, the only DC film that is an absolute disaster is Justice League. It was a disaster through the entire production period because Warner Brothers wanted to redo everything because of the backlash of BVS. So they went in and messed with the whole script, made Zack Snyder change everything. Then midway through, they fired him, brought in Joss Whedon. The budget on it doubled, and they weren't able to make their money back. And so that was really the only disaster. Regardless of what we think about the other movies, and I pretty much enjoy the other movies, Justice League is the only one I'm not a big fan of, and I'm not a huge fan of Shazam, but Shazam isn't a disaster. It's just I'm not personally a fan of that movie. So DC, it's not like they have a whole resume of disasters here. So I just want to kind of put that out there. Is Birds of Prey going to be a disaster? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think it's going to be successful just on the premise of Margot Robbie. I really do think it's going to be successful. I don't think the budget was all that high. I want to say it's probably under $100 million, if not just slightly over. So I don't think the budget was all that high. And it looks interesting. People are going to go see it just to go see it because it's a DC property. I am a little worried about the whole Black Mask thing. We are seeing him way too many times without his mask. Plus the whole story of him being bisexual and that being a major plot point. I don't care if the character is bisexual, but it shouldn't be your major plot point. So I'm kind of worried about that. But yeah, hopefully, I think it'll be pretty good. Steven Garcia writes in, do you think Thanos is completely out of the MCU? I never say everybody's completely out of the MCU. Robert Downey Jr. died. I don't think he's completely out of the MCU. I mean, I always think there's a way they can bring back characters. It's comic books, guys. We all know comic books. We know how comic books are. People never stay dead. There's only maybe 3 or 4 characters that ever stayed dead. Uncle Ben stayed dead because it's a major key part of that character. If they would bring back Uncle Ben, it completely changes the whole premise of with great power comes great responsibility. So will we see Thanos again? I wouldn't be surprised if somehow, maybe Phase 5, Phase 6, hell, Phase 7, they do some kind of crazy Secret Wars thing where a Thanos from another dimension teams up with this dimension's Galactus, and they team up with Doctor Doom, and it'll be just this giant epic side of villains versus giant epic side of heroes. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, to be honest with you. But with these movies and it being a comic book property, never say never. Never say never. Kenneth Bird writes, what exactly is it that you do for a living, and do you see yourself becoming an official web correspondent for a studio like a podcast, like some podcasters are? No. Well, one, I can't really talk about what I do for a living, but I'll just say I work retail. And do I see myself becoming you know, popular enough to do podcasts, like have a podcast? No, I don't see myself. Look, this started out just doing like a side gig for fun. I wasn't getting paid for years. It was years. I've been doing YouTube since the dawn of YouTube. And this channel is relatively new, but I had a previous channel before that, and I wasn't getting paid for anything. It wasn't until a year and a half ago I started getting paid, and it started becoming a second job, and I started actually putting more effort into it to make sure I get a steady paycheck every month here. But there's no way I can make this a more permanent thing, unfortunately. It's just that I guess I can't read the audience very well. I have like a niche audience, and for some reason I just can't get over that hill. I'm trucking up that hill, but there's like no top to that hill. I can't get to the plateau part of it. And unfortunately, I mean, that's sad, but I put a lot of effort into my content, but it just doesn't seem to register all the time. And my subs have really went down. To be fair, superhero news is kind of dead right now, hence the reason why I'm doing a Q&A. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't see that happening. I would love it to be. I'm hoping one day I get someone that sees me and be like, you know what? Hey, I kind of want to work with that guy. Maybe that works out and I can get a shout out on a channel or something. I don't know. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't see much of a future for it. But I'm going to keep at it. You never know. Okay. Eddie Nutt writes, which of the Marvel shows are you most excited for? She-Hulk for sure. I'm most excited for She-Hulk. But the one I'm most excited for is the Falcon Winter Soldier. That's the one I'm most excited for. Because it feels like a sequel to the MCU. Right? It's like the last shot of Endgame was Captain America going back in time being with Peggy. And Sam getting the shield. I want to see the continuation of that story. And we're not going to get it in a movie, but I want to see what the next continuation of that is. And I'm interested in seeing it. I like Sam. I like Winter Soldier. I like Bucky. I like Sam. I like both those characters. We're bringing back Zemo. We're bringing back Sharon Carter. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's the main one I'm looking forward to. It's absolutely the main one I'm looking forward to. Underneath that is She-Hulk for sure. I'm going to read a couple more here. And Michael writes, hi, Robert. Do you think Star Wars Rise of Skywalker will make more than Star Wars Force Awakens and Endgame at the box office? Love your video. Sorry about your car and your bad experience. It happens. It happens. It really does. No, there's no way in hell Rise of Skywalker is making anywhere near as much as Force Awakens or Endgame. Definitely not Endgame. That shouldn't even be a question. Like, Endgame is the highest grossing movie of all time. So, and people shouldn't put those expectations on it. You shouldn't. The Force Awakens made so much money because it was like years before we had a Star Wars movie. And then it was the continuation of episode 6, Return of the Jedi. We were getting Luke Skywalker and everybody back. There was a lot of anticipation about that movie. So to even compare it to Force Awakens or Endgame is ludicrous, in my opinion. Especially Endgame. You shouldn't compare it to Endgame. I don't like how people think like they need to compare it to Endgame. You can kind of compare it to Last Jedi. I think it might do a little better than Last Jedi. It depends how the movie is. If the movie's good, it could do better than Last Jedi. If it's not good, it's not going to make more than Last Jedi. That's just the way it is. I can't speculate on that. I will tell you this. I'm pretty confident it's going to make over $1 billion. It will absolutely make over $1 billion. Whether or not it beats Last Jedi or not, that's yet to be seen. That really depends on the quality of the film. But yeah, Shouldn't compare it. Two completely different things. I'm going to do one more question. I'm going to call it a day. I have a lot of questions here, but I want to get one from Danny here. Danny writes, will the new Batman, Robert Pattinson, be in the same universe as the new Joker? I don't think so, but who knows? Who knows, Danny? Anything's possible. But to me, I think they were pretty clear on the Joker's going to be a standalone from the rest of the universe. Now, whether we don't know if Batman's going to be in the DCEU, we don't know if Batman's going to be in a standalone universe, we don't know if Batman's going to be in a Joker universe. But I think that Joker comes in the 80s, where I think this Batman takes place in. I mean, I guess that could work actually. We don't know. We don't know until we watch the Joker. That's the sad truth. I don't want to speculate on it because I want to focus on Joker just being a standalone film. I really don't want no crossovers. I don't want it to cross into DCEU. I don't want to cross over in the new Batman trilogy. I want it to stand alone. And I want it to be this Oscar bait art film for comic book movies. I really want that to be. So I hope I answered your question very as best as I possibly could. Well, guys, that's all I have for today. I'm sorry if I didn't get to everybody's question, but look out for next weekend. I'll put out another open call, and then I will go ahead and answer more questions. If I didn't get to your question, just be sure to write and ask the same questions next week. So anyway, guys, that's all I got. Until next time, as always, I'm Robert Storms, and that's my opinion.